In the Builders category of the Field Hockey Canada Hall of Fame, Field Hockey Canada proudly inducts Yan Huckendubler, a pioneer who helped promote Field Hockey Canada behind the scenes.
Well, it's it's a little bit of a surprise because I'm not, I'm not a player, I'm not a coach, I'm not an umpire, I'm just like a volunteer, communications, photography.
Yan did so much to help grow the sport as he founded Field Hockey Canada's website and documented Team Canada's journey for multiple decades.
I think you are one of the most deserving people, somebody who has gone in the shadows of what it takes to find success at the international level for our national programs. You give and give and give, and you never ask for anything in return.
Yan grew up in France and fell in love with the game the moment he was introduced to it.
A colleague of my dad was playing field hockey, and his three sons were playing field hockey. So, he suggested to my parents that I could play also, and I went with them to the club. And it happened to be not very far from my house, and I loved it right away.
He'd played on the club level for CASG Paris for 20 years before deciding to move to Canada in 1984, as he'd also met a very special person through the game.
My wife is Canadian, she's a Canadian field hockey player, and she came to play in France for a few years. While she came in France, started to play hockey in our club. That's how we met, and after a while we decided to try to go to move to Canada.
Once they moved to Ontario, Yan immediately went searching for the game he loved and became involved as a technical official for Field Hockey Canada before stumbling on an up-and-coming trend.
I know now it looks weird to say that, but in 97, 98, there was very little internet, certainly no social media, but very little internet. So because from my job, in fact, my real life job is in IT. I was a little bit curious about the internet, so I started a website for Field Hockey Canada. It was the year of the World Cup in the Netherlands, '98 World Cup. So I said, well, maybe I should try to update the Field Hockey Canada website from the venue. It would be fun, like posting the results and everything like that.
Yan was among a handful of professionals actively creating an online presence for their country, which later got him a media credential at the FIH World Cup, and the rest is history. Yan became an iconic photographer, having captured moments on some of the biggest stages, including 6 Olympic Games, 7 Pan American Games, and 6 Commonwealth Games.
But I certainly didn't expect that the little communications I started to do in '98 would lead to so much more, and to going to international competitions for 25 years.
Despite the excellence Yan displays in his craft, it's who he is as a person that makes him an icon.
When trying to think about what Yan is like as a person beyond the photographer and the person writing all the stories and updating the websites, I always think back to a quote from Canadian men's national team goalkeeper Dave Carter, who says that Yan is the nicest man in the world.
I like when people ask me for pictures. For example, they say, oh my God, I've finished my career, do you have a few pictures of me? And and you can provide pictures to them saying, okay, that's the Olympics in 2008 or whatever. It's something I'm happy to be able to do.
Yan stepped away from the national team at the 2023 Pan American Games, but his legendary career shows that there are many ways to contribute to field hockey.
I think it also shows that there are many ways to be involved in hockey, in field hockey. If you can't be a player anymore, if you're not technical enough to be a coach, or if you're not, in a place where you can be an umpire or a technical official, where there are many ways you can be involved in field hockey.
I think just in terms of how he should be remembered, it's just somebody who is like the epitome of volunteer and the epitome of giving to sport, because he has never asked for anything in return. In fact, if you try and give him something, he often will try and give it to somebody else to help them out. So I think if anyone can take a page out of Yan's book, it's just that sometimes when you give, you can just have such a greater impact on things that are not measurable, that can go and go and go for years and years to come.